Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bad for Baseball, the baddest baseball podcast on the internet, presented by Betway. I'm your host, Adam Peddle, and right across from me is the other host, Nicholas Paleolog. And today, we woke up to some pretty interesting news. Is it already extension season? Because Matt Chapman just got the bag. We're going to get into that and talk about whether we like the deal or not for the San Francisco Giants, and as well, looking around baseball. We had a huge AL episode on Monday. We got a lot of talk about the NL. We got Tatis coming back, Darvish coming back, Schwarber doing amazing things, and as well, Whit Merrifield with some pretty interesting comments. We're going to get into all that as we are in the month of September. But before we do, Nick, it's football day today.
It is, yeah.
First day of football. I know we're a baseball podcast, but I think a lot of people share a lot of common similarities here. If you're a baseball fan, you probably like the NFL. And today, you got the Chiefs versus the Ravens.
Listen, September is the best month when it comes to sports, all right? When it comes to sports, September is the best month. You get football coming back. You get, MLB kind of like ramping up towards playoffs. You got hockey on the horizon. And then following September, the second best month is October, because then you get to finish all those things and then start the other one. So We are now entering into what I would call like the best season of all North American sports right now, so I'm fucking hyped for it. And I also love to see that you got Matty Ice getting himself the bag, $151 million.
Woo!
6 years, guys. 6 years, $151 million. That excites me not only because, Matt Chapman getting himself paid. You always love to see that. But that's like the first big deal from what I expect to be a very active offseason. There's a lot of free agents who are going to be available. Matt Chapman this past offseason, him and Scott Boras kind of fumbled the bag a little bit. The Toronto Blue Jays, I remember this, they offered him over $100 million at one point. He said, I don't want to do that. Then ended up getting like a 1 or a 2 year, something like that.
I think they literally offered him this exact same deal.
Did they?
Yeah, 6
Toronto.
year, 150, yeah. And he said no.
Well, I mean, you know what? Honestly, fair enough. At the time, I thought that was a huge mistake, and it was for a long time. However, now that you get to do it again just a year later, I mean, you're really maximizing your value right there. And apparently he did come out and say, just a couple weeks ago that he's very comfortable in San Francisco, everything like that. But 6 years, $151 million. You love to see that additional one right there. You know that it's like, I want to be a little bit more higher paid than that guy or that other guy who gets 150, like George Springer, for instance, just like $1 extra million. But 6 years, 151. Matty Ice is 31 years old. What do you think about this deal? Is this an overpay? Is this the right contract for Matty Ice?
Yeah, I mean, well, of course. I think this is a great contract because, like you were saying, I thought it was an overpay for the Blue Jays at the time. But this contract's going to kick into effect next season. It's going to overtake his previous contract. So, essentially, if you really think about it, what did Matty Ice get paid this year? About $25 million, something around that?
Something like that,
Somewhere around those ballparks. Let's just say 25 just to make it frank. That means he would have got paid a 7-year, $175 million contract. So, at the end of the day, he actually got paid quite a lot because he had to prove himself again, getting 1 year older. So, I think it's an absolute steal of a deal. Just looking at Matty Ice's, stats this season, I mean, offensively, you could say dude's pretty good. He's got a batting average of .247. He's knocked in 22 home runs. Kind of hard to do at San Francisco's ballpark. On-base percentage of .333, slugging of .445. But the OPS plus is where it's like, okay, you could really see some value here. It's a 121 OPS plus. So he's definitely an above-average player, much better than he's ever been in the last couple of years. Never this good with the Toronto Blue Jays. And the WAR is still very high, a 6 WAR. We always knew Matty Ice was a great defender, and he's proving it here. But that's always been the question. Like, are you willing to pay $151 million for a guy who, yes, is 31 years old, 6 more years, he'll be 37 at the end of this deal. Are you willing to pay that much money for right now, an above-average bat, probably will be declining at some point, and a Gold Glove, Platinum Glover?
Well, before I answer that, I do want to backtrack a little bit. You said steal of a deal. I assume you're talking about this from Matt Chapman's perspective.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Never from the Giants.
Well,
the Giants, in my opinion, the Giants are paying up for that WAR.
Yeah,
and that glove.
That's the
what you're
thing,
paying
and
for.
we got to clarify that, right? Because we are talking about a 31-year-old right now. We are talking about $151 million. Granted, he is doing better than the years that he had in Toronto, but I remember when some of the rumors were coming out about him being offered something like this from the Toronto Blue Jays and turning it down. I was thinking to myself, wow, thank God, Blue Jays dodged a bullet right there. As many of you know, we are Toronto Blue Jays fans. I was like, Jesus Christ, do not pay him that type of money. Now, granted, he is playing a lot better in San Francisco, and he has come out and he said that he's more comfortable there. So maybe they have a good rapport. Maybe him and Bob Melvin, I believe is the manager over there. Maybe they really like each other. And Matt Chapman, when you look at the career, this is a very solid MLB player. So you are paying for that. Do I think that $151 million at age 31 for somebody who is batting .247 right now, is that a bit of an overpay? Probably, but I think that if you're San Francisco, you have to recognize that, well, we know that we're going to get the defense. The defense isn't going to go anywhere, at least for a couple of years. We anticipate that he's still going to be that guy. And do we think that Matt Chapman is going to be a mid-700s OPS guy for at least 3 or 4 more years? If the answer is yes, okay, you might take that deal, right?
Right. And then at the end of the day, again, relating this to Blue Jays, you look at someone like George Springer around the same age, got paid very similar money, like literally $1 million off for this exact same age. And he was a good defender out in center field, not as great as Matt Chapman, of course. But now we're starting to see, I'm not saying that Matt Chapman is going to decline heavily like George Springer, but now we're seeing that, wow, we have 2 more years of George Springer, who is a well below average bat, and you're paying a lot of money for this guy, and the defense is not, I wouldn't say tapering off, it's still pretty solid, but damn, do we ever think, I wish we could just get out of this deal right now. And at some point, I have a suspicion that it's exactly what's going to happen with Matt Chapman. I mean, he's never, a lot of those career numbers are inflated from when he was a lot younger, and then the last few years, this is definitely an up year, best year since 2020, short season right there. But like at one point, I feel like this contract's going to look really bad.
Well, I think that I would agree with you. I do think that that's definitely the case, but I think that is the way with a lot of these guys who, when they're age 31, are signing these contracts. I mean, personally, I think that, and this is a longer conversation, but personally, I think that something needs to be done about the fact that, first off, when you bring somebody up to the MLB, you have them under control for 6 fucking years.
That's a long time.
That's a crazy amount of time, and especially a crazy amount of time when you're talking about players who get called up when they're 24, 25 years old.
Yeah.
Because, okay, then my clock starts ticking. Well, I can only become a free agent when I'm 31.
I know.
And then you end up with these contracts. Well, now you're paying for what they did in the past, and you might get 2 or 3 good years, but then they're going to fall off and it's going to hurt you later down the line. Like, I think something, again, deeper conversation entirely, but this is why you're ending up with all these 31-year-olds and everything like that signing these big deals.
Yeah, it's almost like you got to sign at only superstars, because it feels like superstars age well. Because they're younger, they come up younger, they get free agency a lot faster. Like, for example, Juan Soto coming up this offseason. It feels like those are the only guys that are really worth it or worth the investment.
Yeah, I agree with you, right? And Matt Chapman is a phenomenal baseball player in his own right, but he is not at the caliber of a Juan Soto or a Mookie Betts or Bryce Harper or one of those players who has signed those, decade-long extensions, right? So it typically works out for guys who are going to make it to the Hall of Fame, but for all these other guys who are very solid and good baseball players, obviously it's not like Matt Chapman's going to go anywhere, not going to he's going to retire, but at the same point, do I think Matt Chapman's going to be great at age 36? Probably not. For these guys, this is where you end up with, rough contracts in 2, 3, 4 years. I do think that it is a little bit of an overpay for, what you're going to get in a couple seasons.
Right.
However, when we're factoring in the market for these third basemen, when you're looking at the free agency this upcoming class, you really only have Alex Bregman.
Right.
That's it.
And you're going to lock in your guy.
And third base, as we know, very valuable position. Matt Chapman plays it at an exceptional level, defensively speaking, so I don't want to take anything away from him. I wouldn't be shocked if he walks away with 1 or 2 or 3 gold gloves in his time at San Francisco. That is something that could absolutely happen. And you know what? If he does do that and he finishes with a 750 OPS, is that an overpay? Probably not. That's you're paying market value for that.
Yeah, and into San Francisco's credit, I'm looking at their entire team right now. In terms of WAR leaders, you got Matt Chapman leading the team at 6, and then you go Logan Webb at 3.3 at 2nd. So he's almost
massive
double.
drop off.
Literally a massive drop off. Then it goes down to 2.9, et cetera, et cetera. But like literally, they paid guys like Jorge Soler this offseason, 1 WAR. Granted, Blake Snell was injured for a lot of the year, doing a lot better now, 1.3 WAR. So there's definitely a lot of value in Matt Chapman. And San Francisco Giants fans, let us know in the chat if you are happy with this payment. At the time, I feel like, yes, like what he's doing this year is worth $25 million. 100%. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would pay that. It just depends on the age, and we all know how age can really hurt you. Well,
and you know what? With high risk comes a lot of high reward, right, with these contracts. I do wonder what implications this has on Alex Bregman. He is going to be the biggest third baseman free agent walking into this season. Right now, he's got an OPS plus of 115. Granted, his WAR significantly less than Matt Chapman. He's got a 3.1 WAR. However, over the course of his career, you could argue he's been a better baseball player than Matt Chapman, especially offensively speaking. Do you think that the 6-year, 151 contract is right around what we're going to see for Alex Bregman, or are we going to see more or less?
I think it's a good starting point. I mean, if a lot of teams are factoring in WAR, and clearly they're factoring in WAR into this decision with Matt Chapman, because if he didn't have the glove, he's not getting paid $100 million.
No, of course not.
Not at all, right? Where Alex Bregman's still a good defender, but definitely not as good as Matt Chapman. So I would say it's a good starting point. I think Bregman should get paid $100 million, especially he is 1 year younger. I think some team out there would give him for at least 4 years $100 million. I think $25 million per year is the starting point. Because you also got the pedigree there too. You know, an experienced guy who's been in the World Series twice, won it twice. So you definitely got a lot of a pedigree there, which I think also the Blue Jays, speaking of them and George Springer, paid up for to get George Springer. So yeah, no, I think it's a starting point, but not the definite. I don't think 150 is in Bregman's future.
No, you don't think he'll hit that level?
No, just because of the glove, right?
Right.
What's the difference here? He's hitting almost the exact same as Matt Chapman this season, and he's around the same age, but doesn't have the glove. You know?
Yeah, that's...
Unless someone really values the pedigree like I'm talking about.
Yes, and we do have to factor in, the career offensive numbers are significantly better than Matt Chapman. We're talking about 60, 70 OPS points higher. It is very, very good, but it has been a few seasons since we've been hitting that mark. In the past 2 seasons prior to this one, he had an OPS over 800. So if you believe that you're going to get... I think if you believe that you're going to get somebody with an OPS over 800, year in and year out. And again, Alex Bregman's defense, let me pull up his Baseball Savant page very quickly. I know that he's never won a Gold Glove or anything like that, but I thought he was in the top percentile.
I thought he was solid.
89th percentile on outs above average.
Okay, there you go.
So I don't know why the WAR isn't looking at, nearly as good as Matty Ice. That's just fucking WAR for you. Actually, yeah, he's in the 89th percentile outs above average. Matt Chapman's in the 93rd percentile outs above average. So they're effectively the same, and yet Matt Chapman's got almost double the WAR of Alex Bregman. So you, again, explain WAR to me. I don't understand it. It pisses me off to no end.
All right. Well, if I didn't know it was that close. If it's that close and people are gonna, again, it all depends on what clubs are gonna value. And also, didn't even consider this in my my thinking about how much he's gonna get paid.
Right.
If he is the only third baseman, someone's gonna get into a bidding war. A few teams are probably gonna get into a bidding war for Alex Bregman, and that might drive up the price. But I think it's a good starting point. Where it ends up, who knows?
I do think that $25 million average annual value feels about right.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
That feels like it's okay, you are a very quality player. It's you could be on a World Series caliber roster. You could be batting, top 5 in effectively any lineup that you go to, and we'd be happy about that. On any given year, you could be an all-star. Fuck, I want him on my team. I'm sure that anybody who doesn't have a Rafael Devers type of player at third base already, it's you're going to be looking at Alex Bregman and going, this is an upgrade for us. So I do think that he will get paid, especially because of the market. And I would argue, probably pretty close to Matt Chapman. I feel like that contract could be right around similar.
I could see it, right? It all depends on what Alex Bregman wants in terms of what he's expecting, right? Like, because some players go into these off seasons, especially at age 30, because they are waiting for so long. They're going, okay, well, how can I get another payday? Maybe I want to take like a Scott Boras client deal where I get 1 or 2 years with a player opt out. We just max it all in and then we go out. Who knows? It all depends.
You know what? And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, right?
Right,
like,
exactly.
Remind me, I forget right now, but do you know Jordan Montgomery's deal? What that is?
Yeah.
Because that's not, if he's trying to do something similar to Matt Chapman, that is not going to work out.
Also, here's something funny to note. Total side note, but Scott Boras is Matt Chapman's agent and also Alex Bregman's agent. So
there could be some forward thinking right there.
Exactly.
You know, like, yeah, I don't want my two guys competing right here. Like,
right.
We'll get you your 150. You get to stay in this nice place that you like in San Francisco. My other guy can monopolize the market in 2 months' time.
Right. Dude, that's so genius. I mean, Scott Boras, honestly, the fact that he got this deal done is actually good for Scott Boras. He had to save himself. You know what I mean? Because of the whole Jordan Montgomery debacle.
There was a bad rap going around.
Yeah.
Him, yeah.
I mean, Jordan Montgomery, you still got paid $25 million this year with a $25 million player opt-out, which I think he took.
He took that?
Yeah.
No.
Conned player. Whatever that means. Status is COND.
Like for next
player.
year.
Yeah, for
but
next year.
But he's been terrible this year.
It's a player option, so he decides.
Yeah, but he's been bad. Jordan Montgomery.
Exactly. So he's like, well, I've been bad, so let me get paid my other $25
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant he opted out of it. I was like, no fucking way. Yeah, of course he's got to take that.
He took the second year.
Yeah, of course he's got to take
player
that.
opt-outs. So, I mean, yeah, you can get all mad at your agent all you want for having a bad year, but now you get paid another $25 million after you shouldn't be getting paid $25 million to prove yourself once again in the free agency.
Did you actually hear, speaking about player opt-outs and stuff, that Gerrit Cole might be taking his?
That's wild. People were speculating. Did he come out and say anything?
So,
or was that a rumor?
Where did I see that? I effectively saw an article breaking down how it's like Gerrit Cole is looking like he might take his opt-out.
Kind of a bad year to do it.
Well, I mean, it's like, honestly, I was looking at his numbers right when I saw that, and I was like, it's still very good. Like, he's got an ERA now, like, once he's gotten healthy, now his ERA is down to 3.65. So, like, he's, like, getting better effectively every single start. He's 6-3. He's pitched 69 innings. Now he's healthy. So, it's like, if he has that, like, solid, second half or whatever, let me look at his game logs right here, then I could understand it. And again, looking at the pedigree, like, you won Cy Young last year. It's like, you've obviously been phenomenal. Yeah, like, since, so from August to, so from August 4th to right now, so for the past month, and like he also just started on September 2nd, he's got an ERA of 1.85.
Okay.
So it's like so he's all the way back now, basically.
And how old is he?
He is 33 years, turning 34 in 2 days' time. Turning 34 in 2 days' time. So it's like, would he effectively, it's like, well, do you want to get one more kind of like Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, payday where teams are like, okay, well, we can win a chip with Gerrit Cole.
Right.
Let's just like give him 4 years, $200 million, or, something dumb, right?
That's actually not a bad decision right there. Player opt-out, yeah. I mean, he's guaranteed 36, 36, 36, 36, so do the math there. It's still a lot of money.
That's still a lot of money, then.
Still a lot of money.
That's the thing.
And, like, I thought you wanted to be a New York Yankee.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, like, 36 mil is a lot, and you're going to be 38 when you finish. Gerrit Cole's type of player that, like, I could see him being a Max Scherzer or Justin Verlander where he pitches into his 40s and plays for a couple more seasons.
Yes.
If he's healthy, you could get paid then. I don't know. Interesting. Maybe he wants to get reworked his deal. I don't know.
Yes. So I'm reading right now. So Bleacher Report says like amid opt-out rumors. So apparently this is just rumors right now. He could be available. He could opt out. I don't
think he should, honestly.
You don't think so? You don't. So
36 million. I mean, it is the one time you can opt out.
Here's the thing: $36 million for what is that? 4 seasons. So does that including this season or
next season?
Next season.
So
after,
on 2025.
What does that work out to be? Like 140,
144,
$144 million. Can Gerrit Cole make over $144 million?
Maybe.
I think yes, dude. I think absolutely.
I mean, well, would you pay him more year, or would you get him more years there, or just increase?
It would
value?
be the increase of value.
Yeah, because like I wouldn't give him more years.
No,
I like those years.
I'd probably sign him for, if I was a team, I'd want him for
$40 million,
5 years, like $40 million,
so $200 million.
You know, like whatever that. Yeah, like whatever that works out to. Again, like you know, now that he's healthy. Like, and we're seeing it's like I knew that this was going to happen, right? The second that he got healthy, it's like boom, like you're going to be all the way back.
Right.
You know, if he finishes with a low 3 ERA, which is well within the range of outcomes, then you are looking at, you know, well, you're not looking at any down year actually. Like, you know, it's just fucking elite. So, yeah, I think he could get more than $144 million. I could see the argument. I could also though see, you know what? $144 million is a lot of money. I love it here in New York. I am playing well. I don't want to have to move or anything like that. Right. I could also see him just staying put.
Well, his agent is Scott Boras, so
exactly.
How many guys have agents? How many guys have Scott Boras as their agent?
Listen, you know, like Scott Boras gets a bad rap, but he gets results.
He gets a lot of money.
That's the thing. He gets a lot. I actually do wonder what the net worth of Scott Boras is. Look it up right now. The net worth of Scott Boras, because like if you got your hands in the pockets of every single one of these elite players in MLB, it's like you have got to be frickin' like rolling in it right now.
Oh my God, he has a net worth of $450 million. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I mean, think about it, right? Like you sign Gerrit Cole's deal, you sign Matt Chapman's deal, you sign Cody Bellinger's deal, you sign like every single person. It feels like that gets these big contracts is with Scott Boras, and like I don't know what the percentage is, but let's say you're taking 10% off of all of this stuff. It might be even more than that, honestly.
Yeah,
that ends up being a lot of money after a while.
That's insane. Like Scott Boras just made like 15 mil, you know, last night.
Exactly. Yeah, you know that you never think about it that way, but it's like, wow, you're good now for the whole year.
Yeah,
but he does that like
multiple
8 times, you know. Like,
oh my God. Oh. Honestly, yeah. I mean, if Gerrit Cole thinks he can get paid like over 150, like sure. I'm just surprised that he'd. I mean, like you'd think he'd want to go back and be a Yankee, but I mean, I guess he just wants the money.
Well, maybe
if that's the case,
maybe he does. You know, maybe he just wants it to be reworked. Like if you could get, you know, if you're Gerrit Cole, I think you would want to be a Yankee. But if you can, I guess, convince the New York Yankees and be like, I want 5 years now for $38 million a year.
Like that.
Well, you know, there's another $20 million, and
like I mean, that's why the player option is there, right? Because at some point, your contract, if you are still playing at elite level, will start to look like, you know, not lack of a better term, it starts to look like a pipsqueak compared to the deals that other guys are getting. At your elite level. So I guess. Get it reworked.
And honestly, it's like when you look back at the years that he's had in New York, he's pitched 5 years now in New York. He's got a 57-26 record, a 3.13 ERA, 733 innings pitched, and obviously like a Cy Young, and then multiple like top finishes as well.
He's been even better.
You know, it's like Houston. Yeah, exactly. Like that's like. You know, the opt-out's there. It's like you are still doing it right now. So who knows? Maybe takes it. Maybe he doesn't. You guys let us know in the comments down below. Let's move on and talk a little bit about the San Diego Padres, who are one of the most exciting teams in baseball right now. They had a killer walk-off last night. Fernando Tatis Jr., remember that guy? Feels like ever since the PEDs, he just hasn't really been like in the news as much recently, but you do love to see that guy back and like, you know, just like doing what he does, you know, making highlights, winning ball games. Apparently last night they intentionally walked Luis Arias, who was batting right in front of him. Fernando Tatis Jr. took that shit to heart and decided to walk it off.
Yeah, first pitch slider, he pulls it into right field, and it was a walk-off. And look at that, like that's phenomenal, and he's it's what a way to come back, honestly. And the Padres are on a great run right now. You know, they've been absolutely killing it as of late. They're first in the wild card seeding right now, 80-61. There's another 80-win team joining that community, that small community of teams, 7-3 in their last 10 on a 3-game win streak. And what's great is like the Padres they were starting to heat up, but now they got more reinforcements with Fernando Tatis, and they just got Yu Darvish back. Granted, last night got beat up a little bit, gave up 5 earned runs, but that just goes and bolsters the rotation. It's one of those things where, again, like Gerrit Cole, he's injured, he's going to struggle out of the gate.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you could have Yu Darvish be great going into October, then that's just another
that's the thing,
additional
dude.
piece.
And like somebody like guys of the caliber of Gerrit Cole and Yu Darvish, like you just know that eventually it's gonna figure it out. They just need a little bit of time to like ramp up and get into the rhythm of things, right? But once they get cooking, it's like they are gonna get cooking.
Yeah, honestly, Padres for me are a sneaky. I don't even want to use the word sneaky dark horse because they have such a good record.
Yeah.
But we don't talk about them enough because we talk about the Dodgers, we talk about the Phillies, we're looking at these other like wild card contending teams. Like the Mets have got maybe an MVP candidate Lindor, and Cubs are doing fun things down there. But the Padres are a really solid team, and they've got a guy Jackson Merrill as well on the team, which is going to win. I
don't think you can say that yet.
I know it's very close. The odds are very, very similar because Jackson Merrill just hit his 82nd RBI. That breaks all rookie records for a Padre, and that guy's carrying the team. It feels like they just got an all of a sudden superstar out of nowhere.
Yes,
and the Padres are a sneaky team to make a big run. If they're getting hot at the right time, they could go do it.
Yeah, and Adam was referring to right there, everybody. Obviously, the Rookie of the Year, award right there, and it is very much between Jackson Merrill and Paul Skeens. Honestly, in my opinion, both of these guys are deserving of it, and it's going to suck to see one of them not win it, because you look over at Paul Skeens with his 5.1 WAR, his WHIP under 1, his ERA of 2.13, his win-loss record on the fucking Pirates of 9-2. You're thinking to yourself, well, that is a guy who deserves to win Rookie of the Year right there. However, Jackson Merrill, like you just said, 82 ribbies in his first season in the MLB, 16 stolen bags as well. We are driving them in, and we are creating runs as well. 22 bombs as a 21-year-old batting .294 with an OPS plus of 128 across the board.
Yeah.
These are solid numbers.
He could have a 2020 season in his first season in the big leagues.
Yes.
That's huge. He could hit the 90 RBI mark. So, yeah, I mean, it just sucks for Jackson Merrill that he got Paul Skeens. Like, I still think Paul Skeens, I forgot about Paul Skeens for just a moment there. Paul Skeens actually doing some funky things, too. Never throws a changeup, and then last night he was like, let me try some new things. Threw 30% changeups and got so many strikeouts on it.
No one was expecting him.
No one's expected. He does some fun things, but I mean, yeah, it's going to come down to these two. If Jackson Merrill was in the AL, he'd smoke Colin Cowser.
Yes, of course. No, I mean, like the that's why I said it's like it almost sucks that one of these guys isn't going to win it, because I think that they are both so deserving of it in their own right. And it's like if you finish second, like whoever it is, just know like you could have finished first in any other year. But yeah, Jackson Merrill is phenomenal for those San Diego Padres right now. And I do think that they are, sneaky might be the right term, but honestly, like exciting might even be a better way to say it. Like these Padres could 100% go on a run. It feels like, we were talking about them for so many years when they went out and they got Juan Soto, and, they were so active on the free agency and the trade market, and it never really panned out for them. I don't know if this is the year, but I certainly like what I'm seeing right now. I think that they got a serious shot there in the National League. And with that being said, putting you on a spot here, power rank right now the National League teams. Power rank the National League teams in the in the postseason or in the postseason race, because I think you can include the New York Mets right now in those power rankings.
Right. Okay. Well, here's the thing. Personally, I'm gonna say this right off top. I want Phillies. Phillies are my favorite, but I think just based on an overall season-long thing, you got to put Dodgers number 1. But I think Phillies are right there number 2.
Even with all of the pitching injuries?
Even with all the pitching injuries,
like
yes.
Power ranking right now, who are you taking in a series?
In a series, I'd take Phillies. That's the thing. But right now, just looking at the season standings, Dodgers are over them.
Okay, but let's refresh then. Walking into the postseason, I like power ranking your teams in the postseason right now. Because you're right. We could just go down the standings then and be like, you have 84 wins, you have 83.
That's what it would be.
No. Like I'm saying right now, like your power rankings for who you like in this National League walking into the postseason.
Okay, so Adams, who do I like to go into the postseason?
I mean, anyone can look at the standings. I want to know what you think.
Yeah, okay. What I think is Phillies are number 1. Then I'd go Dodgers number 2. Then I'd go Padres number 3. I like them a little bit more than the Brewers because I think they got momentum in their favor. Then I'd go Brewers 4, Diamondbacks 5. Honestly, I like New York better than Atlanta at this point, and that's going to be a talking point at least in this podcast because New York, yes, they're 8-2 in their last 10. They got Francisco Lindor doing magical things. Their pitching is unreal right now. Braves are injured. We're just kind of floating along this entire season, it feels like, where the New York Mets got momentum. And I'd put them over the Atlanta Braves. That's kind of where I'm at.
No, I think I agree with effectively everything that you just said there. That might be my power rankings as well. But, that's showing some respect to the San Diego Padres. Obviously, the Phillies and the Dodgers are kind of in their own separate tier right now. But the Phillies the Padres are right there. Like, I could 100% see them knocking some people off, maybe making it to the semifinals, the NLCS. Let's talk a little bit, though, about that Atlanta Braves and New York Mets battle that's going on down there. That is right now, I think, the most exciting, in postseason or out of postseason type of battle. You look over at the American League, and the Boston Red Sox are 5.5 games back. It's, we got 20 games to play. It's starting to feel like we know what's going to happen there.
Yeah, we do. I mean, even here's the thing about it's so funny. Look over the National League, everyone's getting hot who are in the postseason race, but on the American League side of things, everyone's cold. Even the guys that are trying to get in, like the Boston Red Sox, are cold. They're on a 5-game losing streak, and in the last 15 days, the Red Sox are 29th at OPS and 15th in ERA. Like, they're done. You fumbled the bag, effectively, Red Sox.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this last podcast, but just like, well, is the bracket set for the American League? I mean, every single game that we get closer, like when we're 20 games away and you're 5.5 back and you're not playing good baseball, it's looking like it's set for me, even though Kansas City and Minnesota are both leaving the door open. On the National League, though, it is far from set because you have the New York Mets, who are 8-2, and the Atlanta Braves, who are 6-4 in their last 10. Both of them have 76 wins. The New York Mets are out of the wild card spot by half a game, but if the Atlanta Braves lose and the New York Mets win, we can flip-flop that, no problem. This is a tight battle right now. You're thinking that the New York Mets are going to walk away with this?
I think so. I mean, Mets right now, last 15 days, they're 13th in OPS and second in pitchers' ERA. However, I will give some credit to the Atlanta Braves. They are first in ERA right now in the last 15 days, but 19th in OPS. So very similar numbers, but it feels like on the Mets side of things, I'm a big believer in momentum. They got a lot of momentum, and they are going into this stretch, and it feels like they're gonna pull off some wins. I'm looking at their schedule right now. They got a decent schedule to get some W's. They got the Reds series coming up this weekend. They got the Blue Jays, as we know personally. That's a game that they can series they can absolutely win. They do have a tough series against the Philadelphia Phillies. Then the Nationals. Then the Phillies again, and this is the big one. Last week of the season, the Atlanta Braves, they got a 3-game series there. That could be the deciding series, and then a tough one against the Brewers. So it's not going to be easy, but they're going to have to pick up in the next week while they're hot, and they can do it while they're hot. They got to take care of business with Toronto and Cincinnati.
I think they will, too. I mean, I feel like Cincinnati and Toronto, like, you can absolutely pick up some wins there. I am looking at that final stretch. Like, their final 10 games of baseball is tough because you got 4 against Philly, 3 against Atlanta, and then 3 against the Brewers. All of those are going to be teams that you could be up against in the playoffs, right? We'll have to see if the Braves are there or not. But that final 10 games for the Mets really could decide everything, and then specifically that series with the Atlanta Braves. I mean, for me, I am pretty back and forth on who I like here, because Atlanta, even though it's like, they're like, it feels like the momentum's with the New York Mets. Atlanta, it's like, I feel like they don't choke under the pressure, and I know that they can do it, right? Whereas the New York Mets, like, I have watched them choke this all the way before, and part of me, like the devil inside me, almost wants them not to make it just so we can see Steve Cohen have a temper tantrum of temper tantrums and just lose it in the offseason, because that would be coming. So it is going to be very tight right there. However, winning 7 of in a row is what the New York Mets have done recently. It's hard to bet against that. So I do think that the New York Mets are looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, they are. And I mean, a lot of the reason why they're doing so well is because of the guy on their team. It's Francisco Lindor. And I mean, we made a podcast literally 1 week ago talking about Lindor and Ohtani and how someone brought up, I think it was Mike Petriello, brought up the fact that Lindor, the MVP race is close. And we had a lot of reactions on our comments being like, it's not close, guys. You guys are on drugs. And listen, I'm not saying it's close. I'm saying this guy says it's close, right? Don't shoot the messenger right now. This is the source. But another source right now is coming up out of nowhere. Former Mets manager, maybe it's some Mets bias in there, Buck Showalter is coming out and is talking about how Francisco Lindor is his MVP. And the reason behind that, and it makes sense when he makes the statement where a shortstop could win you a ball game going 0 for 4. He's talking about Lindor. Whereas a DH, Shohei Ohtani, can't win you a ball game going 0 for 4. When I hear that, I'm like, okay, yeah. But you're forgetting the fact that Shohei Ohtani overall is going to win you way more ball games and has probably done that based on WAR and looking at the rest of his stats this year with his bat than Francisco Lindor has done this year with his glove and his bat.
Okay, let me tell you why all of that is bullshit. I'll tell you all why that's bullshit. In a vacuum, if you're just looking at two completely no-name players, then you're right. A shortstop could do that, if you don't have anything there. But Shohei Ohtani, he doesn't go 0 for 4. That's the thing. He doesn't do that. You're talking about these make-believe scenarios where it's like, yeah, you're right. If this guy goes 0 for 4 and that guy goes 0 for 4, then I guess this guy. But he doesn't fucking go 0 for 4. Yeah. He's going to hit 50-50 this year. He's going to hit 50-50 this year. There's just no debate for me. People have done what Francisco Lindor have done. You almost get this season from somebody every other year, right? We always see seasons from this. Yeah, he's hit 30 home runs, and don't get me wrong, he's been very good at baseball. I don't want to take anything away from Francisco Lindor. You get yourself an MVP too on your baseball reference, and that's going to be good. But there has not been a single goddamn person ever who's got 44 home runs and 46 stolen bases, and nobody has gotten 50 and 50, which I really hope that Shohei Ohtani goes on and finishes, man. This is your MVP. He doesn't go 0 for 4, so that argument is bullshit.
It's stupid.
I don't think that there's any argument here.
It's stupid. I almost think he does it for clicks, or he does it to support his guys. That's what it is. Former Mets manager Buck Showalter, because it's just incorrect. You have to be high to be people talking about the drugs that we're on. What is the drugs that Buck Showalter's on? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, exactly, man. Like, again, Francisco Lindor has been very, very good at baseball. We don't want to take anything away from him. Give the guy a gold glove. Fuck, give him a platinum glove. If that's your whole argument where it's like, well, this guy can win you the game going 0 for 4. All right, great. Give him a platinum glove there. But don't give him the MVP because he has not stolen 50 bases and he has not hit 50 home runs. Granted, Shohei Ohtani has not done that yet either, but he will because he's Shohei freaking Ohtani. So Ohtani's my MVP.
Yep.
I don't think we need to talk about this anymore, man. And this is just going to be probably the first of many more to come in Dodgers Blue.
Oh, yeah. And honestly, and this probably won't be the last thing. If Lindor, look, going back to the whole Mets thing, if Lindor brings his team into the postseason, then there's going to be more. I already know there's going to be more people talking about it.
Well, look, if you're Lindor, you can make it closer, right? Like, he's going to have a 30-30 season, probably. He's got 30 bombs right now, 26 stolen bases, so he's probably going to end up with a 30-30 season. If you can get your OPS, like if you go crazy and get your OPS up to 900, I mean, okay, now
you have an argument.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now we can start talking about it because I think that makes it a lot closer.
Right.
But right now, you got an OPS plus of 138. Shohei Ohtani's got one of 175. For me, that is just too much of a gap for me to think that you can be the MVP when this guy is doing stuff that we've literally never seen before. Ohtani's got 111 runs scored. That's a lot of runs scored. You know what I mean? That's a lot of runs scored. And he's got 99 RBIs on the year. So the production from Shohei Ohtani is just unrivaled from Francisco Lindor, even if he is a DH.
And I've seen a lot of people use the argument of like, well, Lindor's got a higher Fangraph WAR than Shohei Ohtani. Well, Shohei Ohtani's got a higher baseball WAR than Francisco Lindor. Which one you gonna believe?
Yeah,
that's right. That's where WAR gets a little bit stupid.
That's what I've said it time and time again. I think WAR is the dumbest thing ever because nobody has any idea really what it means. We all have these different metrics where it's like this guy's getting ranked higher over here, this guy's getting ranked higher over here. I'm gonna use my eyeball and I'm gonna say the guy that's hitting bombs and putting numbers on your board.
We said this last week.
Yeah,
who would you rather have?
It's obviously Shohei Ohtani. And also to that argument, I'm not gonna go through right now because it would take me forever. But I'm really curious. How many times, somebody in the comments, if you have the time and you want to do this, how many times did Shohei Ohtani gone 0 for 4 this year? I bet it's not that fucking many. I really bet it's not that many. You know, I'm not going to go through and look at everything, but I bet it's not that many because he's Shohei Ohtani, and that's what he does.
Yeah, literally. I'm part of the devil in me. I want to go through that. I'm gonna guess 15 games.
Like really, it's not gonna be that many. You know what I mean?
No.
And then how many times has he gone 2 for 4? Probably
a lot.
more
I've seen
times.
a lot of twos
Yeah,
here.
exactly. Probably more
Way
times than
more.
he's gone over. You know what I mean?
I'm seeing way more twos than I am seeing zeros.
So
in the hit
this
column
whole
here.
this whole Buck Showalter argument does not make any sense to me.
No, sir, it does not. Speaking of controversial things, I want to pivot to this one because this is starting to raise a lot of eyebrows, I guess you could say, around the MLB. Whit Merrifield, and he's part of the rules committee. I actually don't know what it's called, but he's part of the MLB rules committee. They have meetings regularly, and
Players Association type thing.
It's something like that, yeah, where he like discusses what ways we can improve the game of baseball, and he's like one of the members on there. So his word actually has a lot of weight because he's talking about the subject right now of pitchers, not being held accountable for hitting baseball players. He's talking about pitchers not being held accountable for hitting players. And he's got a good point because the other night, Whit Merrifield got drilled in the head with a 95-mile-per-hour fastball. Right in the head. And he went to his knees. He got upset about it. He left the game. And post-game, he was talking to the media saying how, yes, it is ridiculous that pitchers are not held accountable because, look, you could bring up pitchers who throw 100 miles per hour because that's where the game of baseball is. Let's just get up a pitcher, throws 100 miles per hour, but he has no control of the baseball. And you want to pitch inside to hitters to get off the big part of the bat. But if you have no control, now you're risking injury to these players that are a big part of your game. You're going to get hit in the head. You're going to break a hand. You're going to break a shin. You're going to damage these players that we've seen all season long. And there's no punishment for pitchers for pitching this way, and he got very upset about it, and he actually said he would go and talk to the committee about this and what we could do. What are your thoughts on just this reaction, this conversation?
Well, I just want to direct quote him right here saying you can't hit a guy anymore in retaliation. There's no fear that, if I hit this guy, our guy's going to get hit. That's not in the game anymore. And what he's referring to is pitchers don't have to hit anymore, so they don't have to stand in the box. And the teams are bringing pitchers up that don't know where the hell the ball is going. They throw 100 miles an hour, so it's, all right, we'll see if we can get the guys out. Just set up down the middle and throw as hard as you can. And it's bullshit. And it's driving me nuts. And you know what? Whit Merrifield, I'll be completely honest, folks. He's not my favorite guy in the world. I watched him on the Toronto Blue Jays, and I know he's got a little bit of an attitude to him. However, in this instance, I really do think that he is making a lot of sense right here. I've always thought, as somebody who watches MLB, I'm like, oh my God, like when those guys get drilled with the fastballs, I'm like, holy shit, like that has got to hurt.
Very
and it
dangerous.
does. You can break bones in your hand. You can break a rib. You could do a bunch of stuff. And even if you make it out okay, you are going to have a crazy bruise there. And that's not even assuming you get hit in the head.
Yeah.
I think about other sports. And I think about hockey, I think about football, I think about, honestly, like literally any other sport. If you hit somebody in the head in football, whether it be accidental or on purpose, like that's it, like you're getting seriously penalized for that. You could get a serious fine for that. You could get suspended for several games for that. This is something that's put in to try to make the game healthier and safer for players, right? They always try to, and probably to a fault even, keep their quarterbacks safe because they want to make the game as fun as possible and keep people as safe as possible so you don't have guys, getting, season-long injuries every other game. I do think that Whit Merrifield is making a lot of sense in talking about how there's not enough punishments for these players. Right back in the day, it's like you hit somebody, well, now you get a warning. You hit somebody again, now you're out of the game.
That's so loose now. Like
we don't have that anymore.
Rule. It was an unwritten rule, but now it's so loose. Like we don't abide by that because it has to be intentional and everything. But I legitimately think that it should be a rule, and it should be you hit a batter, you get a warning. Hit a batter anywhere but the head, you get a warning. You hit a batter again, you're gone from the game. Because hitting two batters in a game, now you're a liability. You probably don't have great command, right? But now you're a liability. It makes you pitch a little bit better. Might be a way to increase offense, too. Well, crap, I just hit a batter. Maybe I can't go inside. Maybe I do got to put it over the hard plate. then he's going to get a hit. So don't hit a batter, right? You got to be careful. And then you hit a batter in the head, immediate ejection, fine. Right. You can't bring up these guys who could throw 100 and are wild anymore. Now, as an organization, you got to be careful. Maybe the organization gets fined too.
Sure.
Right? Because if it's a young kid who's like, oh, I got put in this spot, I don't know what to do, maybe he gets a little fine, but then a big part of it is the organization. Because a lot of it is their fault too.
Yeah, I think it's got to be onus on both people right there. And, like you can do it in so many different ways, right? Like you can make it just a one-game thing, or alternatively, like this stuff can carry over, right? It's like if you've hit, I don't know, 5 batters in 3 games or something like that. Like if that's how it works, well, okay, now you're suspended for a week or 2 weeks. I don't know what it is, but it's like you can't make your next start because you've done it in this period of time. Like this is like a continued thing, and you can have various tiers of like, well, if you do it this amount of time, now it's this, and if you do it again, then it's like a harsher thing.
Because think of it this way, right? You go hit. Let's take Whit Merrifield's teammate Austin Riley, for example. He's got to miss 6 to 8 weeks now because you pitched one inside and you didn't get tossed from the game. You stayed in the game and you continued to pitch. I think that's kind of bullshit. You know what I mean? For no punishment. I know there might be a couple older heads out there that are thinking, "Wow, you suck it up. Back in the day, we had to take this." Well, back in the day, people weren't throwing 100 miles per hour at your dome. That's not. It's a different game nowadays. And we're going towards of safety. It's not about sucking it up and being a man or whatever you want to say. It's genuine safety. Genuinely, it's about safety because, God forbid, as Whit Merrifield says, if it hits him in a different spot, something terrible is going to happen. And I feel like the rules got to change before something terrible happens. What if someone gets hit in the head?
Yeah.
And God forbid something really does happen.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, you think about what happened in hockey like a year ago or a year and a half ago, where in the minor leagues, right, where somebody took a skate to the neck and they passed away, right? And now there new rules coming in immediately, like trying to get more neck guards in, trying to make all that happen. I don't want that to happen in baseball, right? Nobody wants to see somebody in MLB like fucking die or like get put in a coma or something like that because somebody was a little too wild with their 100-mile-per-hour pitch. No, you just need to be a better pitcher. And for all those guys who are thinking, well, you got to suck it up, all this shit, I don't actually think it's got anything to do with that. I think it's got to do with taking responsibility. It's like in any other aspect of your life, literally any other aspect of your life. Like if I walk into the middle of the road not abiding by the rules of, like road and, I jaywalk and shit like that, I'm going to get hit by a car and then I'm going to probably get, talking to by the police for not abiding by the rules.
Right.
In any other area of my life, if I do something that like is impacting other people, I am going to have a fucking consequence. But in this game right here where we're throwing 100 mile per hour, baseballs, which is hard as shit, you're telling me that there's no consequences whatsoever? It's just about taking responsibility for your actions. You got to be a better pitcher if you're going to be in that spot and putting that guy's fucking life on the line.
I can't agree more, man. I can't agree more. So we'll see what happens there. I feel like this should be a no-brainer. I mean, you have a lot of people disputing between like the players committee and then the MLB like on rules. This one feels obvious. I mean, I think everybody can get behind this, and especially like Mookie Betts going out for a majority of the year, Fernando Tatis going out for the majority. I actually don't know if it was because of the hit by pitch or not, but Austin Riley going out for most of the year. Taylor Ward had to get reconstructive surgery on his face.
Yeah,
like Justin Turner in spring training last year had to stay out for a portion of the year. Like we want to see the good players play. And we need to have some accountability here.
Well, that is kind of exactly what happened with football. Like I remember, a couple decades ago, or not even that long. It's like you just kept seeing quarterbacks go down, right? Like these are your star players, and they're just going down because they're getting killed. And now they have like really done the other side of things. Again, maybe to a fault here, where it's like we're trying to protect the quarterback so much. But I'd prefer that than have your franchise guy go down in week 3, and it's like, well.
Who are effing Clayton Tune?
Yeah,
throwing the ball for
and
Cardinals.
It's like Clayton Tune doesn't want to be here, and I don't want to be watching this. And our star guy is getting paid $30 million to be in the hospital. It's like none of this is good for anybody. And then on top of all of that, you got the safety aspect of things. So baseball, we are a step behind right now. Let's catch up.
I agree. We're almost done this podcast, but before we do. You guys know here that we're Blue Jay fans, and we have Blue Jays today, and we like to go live for games. We went live for the Phillies series. I thought it was going to be pretty fun. We predicted we'd split it. I think that was pretty optimistic on our part. Blue Jays ended up getting swept by Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah, pretty much single-handedly.
Single-handedly, Kyle Schwarber beat the Toronto Blue Jays. He had 4 home runs in 2 games, including the one really great game where they came back down 6-1. They won 10-9 off of Schwarber's 3-homer, 5-hit night. It was only matched by one Philly in Philly history. That's incredible. And I know we gassed up Schwarber, I think a few weeks ago on this podcast, but he's still doing it, dude. And Schwarber is just dominating.
I'm looking at this right now. So like on Baseball Reference, they have daily fantasy sports points by FanDuel, and then they got one by DraftKings and stuff. For the FanDuel one, on the September 3rd game, Kyle Schwarber had 78.8 fantasy points, according to FanDuel. To put that in perspective, normally this guy gets like 3 or 6 or something,
78.
So 78, right? This guy goes 5 for 6, 3 bombs, single-handedly wills his team to victory. This is a 2-game series. 2-game series, everybody. Kyle Schwarber starts that series batting .238 with an OPS of .813. He finishes that series batting .248, so 10 batting points higher with an OPS of .853. He upped his OPS by 40 points in 2 games and upped his batting average by 2 points. Like, Kyle Schwarber is an animal, dude. And when you look over at the Baseball Savant, like, they always show this. They always showcase, like, how much of a polarizing player he is. But, like, you don't even really believe it until you watch him play. And when you look at some of the statistics, the guy strikes out like crazy. But you don't care, because he also hits bombs like crazy.
Yeah.
And he walks like he's in the 99th percentile in walk rate. And frankly, we got to have a talking to with the Toronto Blue Jays management, because we should have been doing that a fuckload more than what we were doing, which was throwing him cookies and he was smashing them for home runs.
We were live, and this was after the 3-homer game. First at bat, obviously, he's leading off the game.
Yeah.
And the comments were saying, walk him. I'm like, guys, let's not get ahead of ourselves and walk Kyle Schwarber to start a ball game.
Second pitch.
Boom.
Bang,
Gone. I felt like I was watching a replay. He homers a leadoff homer, second day in a row. I mean, damn, dude. Like, at that point, it's like, is it a good strategy to walk this guy? I mean, if he's that hot, you can't tell when you start a ball game.
Yeah, like, obviously, if we would have known that,
if we would have known,
that would have been better. But
obviously, you had to pitch to him.
Kyle Schwarber, I think, is one of the most exciting leadoff hitters in the game, and you could argue even the best leadoff hitter in baseball right now. The fact that he's got an .853 OPS, and this to me is crazy, 89 RBIs at the leadoff spot. That is really tough to do, everybody.
Yeah.
Like, a ton of those RBIs are himself, homering himself around, but then also, like, he's turning the lineup over beautifully. Like, he's setting the table great for, Bryce Harper and the boys. He's got an OPS of on-base percentage, of 371.
That's amazing.
Like, across the board, Kyle Schwarber is just doing it and doing it right, man. Like, this is part of the reason why I really believe, like, the Phillies could go all the way this year, because I think they've constructed their lineup in such an interesting fashion that it's
They're
like
scary, man.
I know, like,
mash. You don't want to face anybody.
If I'm walking into game 1 of the postseason and I'm a pitcher and everybody's looking at me, I do not want to deal with this guy first.
Yeah, that's the
I
thing.
do not want to deal with this guy first.
Speaking of old heads, people are like, "Why don't you get your fastest, quickest guy up there at the top of the lineup?" It's like, dude, I'd rather face that guy than Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah,
I don't want, because I'm trying to get comfortable, but now I can't even pitch side to this guy. He's going to turn over a fastball.
And technically, this guy is the fastest guy on your team when we're talking about fastest guy to round the fucking bases, because he's going to do it in one swing, baby.
Yeah,
that's
literally.
what he does time and time again.
Literally, man. Well, Kyle Schwarber, you're a beast. We've seen that firsthand from Blue Jays perspective, and like many of you may know, Nick and I are rooting for the Phillies this postseason. They're kind of like, I wouldn't say sneaky pick, because they're pretty much
I think they're a favorite. Right,
yeah, they're the sexy favorite over the Dodgers this year,
and I kind of want to see it, man. I like what they got going on there. I think about some of the guys on that squad, JT Realmuto, Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper. When you think about legacies, these are guys that I want to see with a ring when it's all said and done. Nick Castellanos, even some of the pitchers there, Wheeler and Nola, right? All of these guys have been around for a minute. It's like, I feel like, all right, you did your time, boys. You've proven it.
Yeah.
After when it's all said and done, you guys should have something up there in the trophy cabinet.
And they deserve it, man. Guys, that's Bad for Baseball, episode 17 here on a Thursday. If you enjoyed, guys, guys. Please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the Bad for Baseball YouTube channel. And if you're listening to audio, go check us out on our YouTube and our social media. We got tons of shorts out there. Check it all out. We're covering a lot of baseball content, especially down the stretch here. So let us know, guys, your thoughts about what we should talk about in the following podcasts.
Yeah, thank you so much for watching, everybody. We will catch you in the next one.
Cheers.